Lisa Schiff. Welcome, Lisa. Lisa is founder of SFA Advisor, one of the top art advisory firms in the world. Thank you very much, Lisa, for taking the time to come here.
Thank you for having me.
So Lisa, I thought you would give us a little bit of the perspective of how an art advisor, one of the top art advisor, would intersect with a nonprofit such as Aware. You know, is it relevant for your work? Is it relevant in terms of the art that you would advise your collectors to buy? How do you see this interaction occurring?
I mean, for me, what's more important than any specific nonprofit is just the whole entire art ecosystem, if you will, like not separating it out into market, institution, because it's way too ciphered, especially in the United States. So what I'm already interested in about Aware is that it seems quite married to the Academy, and in the United States, the Academy has pretty much disappeared completely. And this is really frightening to me because the way the market is going is not in a very positive direction in terms of content or meaning or anything to do with aesthetic or critical value. In fact, it's fetishizing off, so financial and investment value are separating off entirely. And the art market is sort of following a collectibles market and the NFT market in its behavior. It's sort of running on social information arbitrage as well, which is super scary.
So you don't think there's an opportunity that an initiative like Aware can be?
Oh no, I do. I think actually it's incredibly important, but you have to be careful about the way you interact with the market, because the market as it is now is no bueno, but you could have a positive effect. The most important thing that we're losing here is all content or meaning or critical value contextualization of any kind, right? So like that is where this is so valuable. I mean, one of the things I think that is so important to you is to fill in the gaps where women that are now deceased had no catalogs, there's nothing to look up, you can't find anything. So creating that archive for them is super important. And I think maintaining that while maybe interacting with the market, I think the way that Frieze was done was perfect, because it was each booth that they curated was a solo booth of one woman. And this is incredible because in an art fair, when you see like something here, something here, something here, you can't really understand anything. You don't get an exhibition feeling. You can't learn anything about the artist, right? It just becomes like a tchotchke on the wall. But to do it like this, these solo booths, you really get to learn something. I also thought it was good that it wasn't so obvious that it was Aware. You had to see the labels. Everything was lined up in one line. I would have interspersed it throughout. The most important thing happened, and that is that you got the New York Times and the Financial Times. Like that's incredible leverage, right? Right. So you created a place where you're interacting with the market, but in a way that's very positive. And I think keeping that balance is really important. So I wouldn't go more crazy about your, Instagramming your interaction there, because that kind of subtlety, I don't know, I thought was very interesting and important. And it's a hard balance to reach. So yes, I think you can, but you have to really understand what a shit position we're in right now. No, it's quite bad.
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree. And the challenge with Frieze is that we really created a pretty radical spotlight section. And to be absolutely true about what I expected from it, I was surprised that people even bought anything from this booth, because there were radical propositions of really many completely unknown women artists. And I was surprised to see so many people buying, including Tate, which bought 2 of the spotlight artists in the like 5 acquisitions they do in Frieze. So I think it sort of validated our position of being not a niche, but being super strict about whether we publish on the website, who's writing and signing the text, what we want to do. We want to show what's invisible. So in a fair, we could have very well chosen very well-known artists, women artists, but we chose the unknown women artists. And when they had a little recognition, we showed previously unseen pieces of work or series of work. And somehow that worked. People loved it.
Yeah.
I met Alfred Bachmann, previous director of Centre Pompidou, who said, "Oh, but I learned so much from the section," which is really what we wanted to do.
And as long as it doesn't feel like, oh, it's a special like charity thing over here, I think the fact that it did meld in enough was really important. And I'm happy that it was at Frieze Masters, not at Frieze,
Right?
Because what's happening with contemporary women artists is really quite interesting. First of all, you have a new, heavily speculated marketplace that makes no sense at all. Yeah. So like, you know, you can watch the art market and go through certain markers of how many museum shows, how many catalogs, how much, you know, how much time in the world is this artist deceased. Now it's an artist from today who's like 12 years old in the art world, and you know, it's going for not like 100,000, but maybe $4 million. So that means 2 people are bidding it up, and my guess is it's 2 men, right? And it's actually happening more on women artists than it is on male artists. And what it does to these young artists is, I mean, either we're gonna change completely into this new mode of permanent information arbitrage, or there will be a crash of some of these artists. And I think it's like really unfortunate. I feel sorry for them because the artists themselves aren't trying to be, you know, at auction right now, aren't wanting to go.
And you're talking about young women artists or?
Young.
Okay.
There's another situation where there's a deceased artist where a very known, powerful entity in the art world has gone behind the scenes, bought up everything for, you know, $5,000, like 100 works, and then dropped one at auction, colluded, and now it's out of control.
Okay.
So maybe that's not so bad because maybe this artist deserves to, like, you know, but the way it's going down is kind of gross, right? But mostly when it happens to the young ones. So just to give an example, an artist like Christina Corliss, who had a $4 million sale, who shouldn't be priced more than $35,000, is now at Hauser & Wirth, and they have moved her. So at Hauser & Wirth, I could go downstairs into the Jenny Holzer show. The most expensive piece was $850,000, and I could buy it for any one of my clients. Or I went upstairs to the Christina Corliss show. The bottom of the show was $850, the top was $125, but everything sold to museums.
Really?
And I'm like, why would you ever do that to this artist, to raise her prices this much? That's like, you see it all the time where it goes to 200 or 250.
But how could museum buy? Because museum are not worth
I really don't. I think it's probably buy 2, gift 1. You know, there's no way.
Okay.
If they are, then I'm done.
No, the museum is moving from the acquisitions fund. It is some collector. She's right. It's probably
it's probably
they
a
buy
buy 2.
because in order to get access, that's what they
buy
do.
2?
Yeah.
The gallery
Okay.
requires the collector, in order to get access of the painting,
Also-
they
Yes.
have to buy 2 and offer 1 to the museum.
Now, also, there's a whole host of museums now that are kind of like for hire. So, like, I would guess the Whitney, and I don't know, or the MoMA don't want that artwork right now because they don't just take anything. But there are museums that will take anything, right? So then they get the collector to also support other things that the museum is doing. So, you know, it's like false curatorial background. So I said to somebody, I had a conversation with somebody who worked there about it. Well, she's in 26 museums. I'm like, but really? Like,
Which
is she
ones?
having a show? Is it in the basement? Like, does it matter? Like, are those museums even legit anymore? So I just feel like this curatorial work is super important. And that's where I feel sad for these young artists, because to go to that fast, like, you know, the new market, like the art market as we know it started 20 years ago. And, you know, I remember the first artist to go from, you know, 7,000 to 200, and that was shocking. Well, going from 7,000 to 4 million really is insanity,
So
right?
what do you see in a nonprofit like Aware? What kind of role can they play?
Exactly
in this
what
kind
they
of an
just
infrastructure?
did, this kind of curatorial work, you know, in a way that they're not over leveraging their position there, but that they're like quietly placing content into these art fairs, which can be super commercial and super, you know, gross, but to try to keep doing this, then how to make the money. So
That's right.
That's where we're getting to.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting here.
Honestly, I think, and I can't.
How to have the multi-year financial support to continue to,
Yes,
to,
and I
to continue to
actually
support
want to
this.
throw up as I'm going to say this, but I kind of think you've got to do an annual auction, which I hate more than anything, but you could get donations from some of the artists' estates or things that some of the galleries that you've just helped out, basically.
So work with Christie's, or what kind of auction?
I
How
think
would
the
you do
best
that?
way now is
Yes.
so there's two ways to go that seem to be really positive. One is you could do an auction that is for aware, right? You have like a gala, you maybe charge tickets and people come, and then the auction is like around the time of the gala. You maybe show the works at the gala, but then you bury them in a Christie's auction. So it's part of it looks like it's part of the contemporary or the modern impression sale, whatever it makes sense to be in.
Okay.
And it's just like a few lots in there, and that's where you get your thing. And you can offer to split 50%, up to 50% with the estates or the artists. Most will say no, but it's good to offer. Some need it.
Okay.
And
You mean most will not require that you give 50%?
I find most of the time they end up giving it back, but some people really can't afford. So some people will take it, so you have to be prepared for that as well. But it's something you can or you don't have to do. That's one way to go about it. And the other way would
And you
be...
feel there's a real opportunity. There's not too much, there's
We've
not too
never
many
done
of these
that.
auctions at the moment.
There's always too many auctions, but it's like, unfortunately, I mean, I hate them. It's awful, it's hard to compete, but I like the way they're starting to seamlessly blend into the main auction, so it's not a whole separate thing, right? It's like you go you're in the catalog with, everything.
Okay.
But also you could do what I think I've seen David Werner do many times now. They do a private sale exhibition for a nonprofit. So, it'll be like a big group show and everything there is for sale and you're getting the proceeds. Because on some level, I feel like it's not so bad for you to take some proceeds from the freeze thing, but I think separating them is better. It just gets.
No, we couldn't take. Yeah, I don't think we could take money from freeze from the sale.
It's a donation though. What happens is the artist or the gallery make a donation to you based on the sales. But I think it's better to separate them.
It's better
You can
to
still
separate.
work with these galleries and artists specifically, but in a different scenario. And that's kind of what I would do. I also think you have to get every female artist involved in this project. Again, I had never heard of Aware. I don't think we have anything in the United States similar to this.
Oh, it's unique in the world.
But I have to say the most important part to me is this.
Yes.
Like this is the work, it's not just promoting women artists, it's really building up their history. That is the most important thing, because the value that I learned is that critical and aesthetic value are not separable from financial and investment value. Once you pull the financial investment aside, you lose the art, even if it's there.
I completely agree with that.
And so to maintain that, that's the only way to really continue having collectors who work with me, because I can't give them a reason right now why they should buy an Alice Neal painting. I could tell them how it used to work, but right now, maybe they should try to get a Christina Corliss and throw it at auction. So it's not that we're looking at it for money, but if you spend $1 million on a painting, you just want to know that it's not thrown out the window. And so this is like a very big crisis we're going through right now.
I so much agree with you. I thought about both the auction thing and the asking the artist thing, and if I had to ask artists, I would rather today go to men, I have to say. The most expensive men artists that I know, like Kiefer, like Thomas Schutter, or ask these guys to help women artists rather than take something from women artists again to help women artists. Why not ask the men?
Of course, you're right. And have you asked? Because you're
No,
friends
no,
with
I've
some
been,
of these.
I've been thinking
also,
about
is friends with these people.
I've been thinking about it.
She's done exhibits for these
And
artists.
it was just my plan. My plan B of ever was to do that. Was to ask
that's
3 or
interesting.
4 super expensive guys that I worked with and say, would you help? Would you give Kiefer could give $1 million.
What about Richter?
Oui. Richter, if it's...
Despite
She co-curated the incredible, groundbreaking exhibit, retrospective of Keith,
So
Richter.
this is what I
you
would
could
like
just,
to do.
You could just get one. Just
Yeah.
get one Richter. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all you
one
need.
Richter is
Yes,
enough, yeah.
yes.
One
a
Richter
very
for the
simple
evening
thing.
sale.
A soulage, or that men should help women
I think
at
it's
this
a good,
point.
it's a good idea.
That's a great
It's a good
idea.
idea because it's something that will really strike the a
Voilà.
note for
You have to
people.
market it just
Yeah.
right so it doesn't look like you're taking the piss. But you know, like so. But
Yeah,
it
it's
could
good.
be. But I would say, like, despite everything that's going on, the art world is run by white, straight men mostly. I mean,
And
despite
some of
everything.
them like women. Some of them might like helping women.
I'm sure.
Why not?
But the other thing I would do is I would like sort of get cozy with some of the leading female gallerists, because you know these gallerists they're hardcore.
Yeah.
But I tried that and they never helped. Has er niet werkt?
I've been
No,
with
but I'm
Camille.
thinking
We
like
have-
I'm thinking like LGDR. Like you want to get in with the women. Like you know you wanna cozy up to you know Amalia Dayan and Dominique Levy and Jeannie Greenberg and Barbara Gladstone and these women who are killing themselves in a male-dominated world. You know it's hard.
It's a good idea.
But do you think they would help? I'm not sure. You think
Yes.
so?
Oh yeah. I think
Okay.
you.
She's worked with. I've been
Yeah.
with Camille in meetings with Marion Goodman.
No, she would never
This is
help.
we
But-
have meetings together.
Et ça, il faut pas le garder. Hein.
Ouais. Mais je
Oui.
crois que ça va changer maintenant parce qu'elle elle
We're
est
not doing
plus.
English.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
She's not so much with the gallery anymore.
Oh,
I mean, I think it's shifting around, but I do think that maybe the way you've presented Aware is, again, speaking to what was already spoken to, is just not the right way, because I can see Hauser and Wirth being so interested to leverage this for their brand. I mean, I think there's lots of ways for these galleries to participate. You know, I don't know that they give money away.
Ah bah.
I think it's not that. There's ways for them to help you.
In some way.
That's not like a donation per se, but you know,
But then how? Because
like they can host an exhibition for you that is a selling exhibition that's a donation.
Is it necessary to have some kind of a U.S. base, an undefined U.S. base, to be able to be effective in terms of marketing communication, to raise the necessary funds?
Yes.
Is it that case? So you agree?
I think,
Which of course,
yeah.
my
Yes.
experience is that there's,
It doesn't need to be brick and mortar,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't
you
need to
need
be
a
brick
group.
and mortar.
You need a group, and you
Yeah.
need like this is not a French project. This is a
This is a
universal
global
it's
project.
absolutely not.
But French can often come off as very French and like a little bit like hard to access. So, and so can the academy. The academy can come off so much as like, you know, too highfalutin, too hermetically sealed. And, you know, that's a problem. They're so completely separated now in the States, and we need more of that together. But yes, American would be
But
great.
they are really producing our content, is the academy. So they're really c'est notre pétrole.
But who in the States? I mean,
Oh, we have a lot of students and researchers and
In the States
teachers.
as well.
no, I
in the
know.
States.
A lot of them are leaving. They're leaving and they're going to the dealer side.
So do you think, one of my thoughts is related to the previous talk about Web3 and social tokens, do you think that offers an opportunity for a different audience to be familiar with fundamental content?
I think it's super smart to explore it, but I think you have to be really careful. I think again, this is where I really get torn, because fundamentally you're commodifying this for trade over here. That's the only way you're going to get money. And like that for me is an interesting conflict, because but I think we're too early days to understand how this social thing will play out. Legally, there's a lot of legal issues. There's a lot there, but I do think if Web3 is treated the right way, that we can get away from like all this other shit, basically, that's, you know, it's like we're democratic, you know, we're empowering you. It's bullshit. They're just another middleman that actually is worse than a middleman, because there's no liability. It's like, well, you're on there by yourself. So I know people working in Web3 like Harrison who are really working hard to like upend the negativity of social media and to create new communities in very positive ways that, you know, aren't even interested at all in any kind of tokenization. But I do think it's very smart and forward thinking to look at this because this is the future. And it's great to have a younger generation. You know, I think it's okay to have different audiences. Like, I'm not ever gonna be like all online reading on a Reddit forum about how I should get your token, but these kids that are into it, they're into it all day long. So I think it's great.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Lisa.
Thank you.